Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out another 5-inch frame from Tinsly RC. This one's called the S50 or the Big Shark. Comes in three colors, like a golden color, blue, and a rose gold. I got the blue here. It's pretty nice. It's got these aluminum side cages here and this nice sort of electric blue color, turquoise. Pretty sharp looking. And these side cages are pretty light. You can see that they're kind of cut out and very minimalistic. They actually do flex a little bit, but there's going to be a bunch of standoffs here that will reinforce everything. You get a bottom piece here for where the battery goes, and this is also in aluminum. And they also include a rubber sticky pad, silicone pad to grip your battery, which is nice, and it's already pre-cut to the shape of the battery plate, so that's all nice and good. The arms are very nicely cut, and this does remind me quite a bit of what Gearbest RC carbon looks like and the way it's cut. The edges aren't chamfered. It's still pretty sharp, but the edges are, all the cuts are very clean, and they did this appear that they've washed the carbon because there's no carbon dust on the edges, so very cleanly cut and processed. And then this is the bottom plate that everything is attached to. So the bottom plate is 1.6 millimeters, and the arms are 4 millimeters thick. And just to show you sort of the precision of the cutting, here's all four arms stacked on top of each other. They're all exactly the same in terms of the design of the arm. All very precise, and they all resemble each other very closely. So this should come together very nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and put this together, and we'll take a look at what it looks like finally assembled. Okay, so here it is fully assembled. It didn't take very long, and it's actually a pretty simple build. A couple tips here. I would follow the instructions on the screw sizes, and they're actually labeled very easily here on the diagrams. There's a M3x6 that goes into the standoffs on the cage, and then there's a M3x10. There's four of those that are going to be so basically securing the four arms between this little bottom plate and then the battery plate. And there's actually threads in the battery plate for those screws. So make sure you use the 10 millimeter screws for that. And then the M3x8 millimeter screws are going to be the four screws that secure the cage to the frame. So basically, those four screws don't really provide that much structural support in terms of holding the frame together. It's mainly these four screws here. They're the most important. The M3x10. They go through the carbon plate, the four arms, and then basically this battery plate here that has the threading. That's actually holding everything together. And then there's, you can see that all four of the arms are butted up against each other there. There's a little circle there. Then that's how they're basically held together. The arms, you can't really move them because they're all stuck up against each other, and the pressure of the four screws holding the arms together between the bottom plate and the battery plate basically keep the frame together. So you might want to have some spares of those in case those strip out in a crash, because the four screws on the inside, which they don't provide, that actually mount the flight controller stack, there's no threading in here, so the screws the screw will just fall out. So it's not actually meant for structural support there. So which you probably shouldn't be used that way anyway, because it's just a flight controller stack there. But yeah, there's only one screw that holds that arm in place. So that could be a downside on the frame itself, on the design, but it's fairly light, I think. Let me see. I think it comes in about 104.5 grams. So not too heavy. So the last thing is a couple of other things that came with the frame. You get an XT60 connector, a couple of battery straps. I didn't put the battery sticky pad on yet. And then there's this guard piece that goes on top of the flight controller. I guess that goes in here. Maybe you could put that in there in your whatever flight stack you're using, and then use that to secure things like receivers or whatever to this. It's a little tiny, I think it's like a 1 millimeter carbon plate. So that's the entire frame. What I'm going to do is, in a future video, I'm going to move all the components from this guy here. This is a Furby Fire Dancer GT220 or something like that. And I never actually finished a video on this one, or did a video on this one, because I had a bad video transmitter on this one. I couldn't even get this into the air. Everything else worked, but then as soon as I powered it on, within about 30 seconds the video transmitter would just die. And I think at this point it's completely dead, doesn't even power up at all. I think there was a bad regulator on the video transmitters on the first batch of these GT220s. But since the way this thing is constructed, I have to take the whole thing apart anyway to fix this. I'm going to actually use a new video transmitter, and it's really tight in here, and I don't really particularly like that, so I'm going to just move all these parts over to this new frame where, as you can see, plenty of room to work on your electronics, and that should be a lot better. And a couple more things here. You got your little hole here for the camera, and a little sliding thing as well. I actually didn't test the camera in there, but I think a standard full-size FPV camera should fit in there very nicely. But yeah, it's a pretty nice frame overall. I like the way it looks. Okay, so I'll make sure I get these measurements in before I end the video. It's 215 millimeters motor to motor. It's 165 millimeters side to side, and about 138 millimeters front to back. So not quite a true X, it's more like a H-style frame. So kind of like the way those fly anyway. So anyway, I'll have a future video with the parts from the Furby and this guy, and then it'll be labeled like something like GT220 conversion, something of that kind. So look out for that video, and I'll put a card in the corner in this video here when I eventually put that video out, so you guys can find that and see how that turns out. So hopefully I get those parts in the air, and we'll get this flying pretty soon, so stay tuned for that video.